Well, hey, Impact Communities, thank you so much for clicking play on this Talk It Over video as we unpack week 3 of this series, a funny little thing called love. Now, if you haven't had the opportunity yet to watch this message, make sure that you go back at some point in time and listen to it because it was a fantastic message. And a fair warning, and Pastor Josh mentioned it right from the get-go, this is a message that will kind of feel like it's coming at you with a little bit of some 2x4 force coming to hit you across the face. One of my favorite movies growing up was the movie Tommy Boy with Chris Farley, and there's a scene in the movie where he and his partner get into a little bit of a scuffle with each other and ends up getting hit in the face with a 2x4. And if you're familiar with the movie at all, they end up going to a diner afterwards, and he's saying to his friend that hit him with the 2x4, he goes, "It doesn't so much hurt here or here, but right here." You might experience a little bit of that with that message. If you got the opportunity to watch it live this past Sunday, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because what Pastor Josh did is he brought us to a very familiar passage within the Bible that a lot of us have heard at least at one point in time in our lives, and usually you hear it at a wedding. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 4, and this is what it says. It says, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails." Now, as we have walked through this series, we land here in week 3, which is talking about we focused all around the idea of loving others. Now, Jesus has the opportunity, he's given this teaching opportunity when a religious law upholder comes up to him and says, "Teacher, what's the greatest commandment?" And Jesus says, "To love God with everything that you are." And then the follow-up is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. All God has really ever required of any of us is to do 2 simple things, to love God and love others. But in order to know how to love, we first have to dive into God's word to understand what is that definition of love. And we go no further than going here to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, diving into 1 John, and looking at John chapter 3, verse 16. You see, it's there that we really find the definition of love being played out in real time. So, as Pastor Josh unpacked this message, what he really focused in on was, since we know what the definition of love is, we know what it looks like, we know how it's supposed to be acted out, what we really get in our world today, and what we get from our enemy Satan, is he loves to twist the idea, the reality of what love is. So it's not so much that love isn't patient, but we put these boxes around how far are we supposed to take our patience. When do we actually live out our patience? Do we only live out our patience when things are good? When birds are chirping and butterflies are flying through the air on the first day of spring? Or do you live out that patience even during the most difficult of times? You see, God would say you live out love through patience all day, every day, no matter what it looks like. But our enemy Satan would say, no, do it when it best fits you. And as this message went on, that's how Pastor Josh broke down 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through 8. So this is what I would love for you to do, and I invite you to do. As you're sitting in your Impact community, watching this video, getting ready to dive into these Talk It Over questions, let me encourage you to spend a little bit of time in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, beginning verse 4 through 8, and really break it down and start doing exactly what Pastor Josh did as he wrote out this message, and start asking the question amongst the group, amongst everybody that you're doing life with, what are all the different ways that our enemy wants to twist what God's version of love is and make it fit us. Now, this whole pandemic season has been exactly all about that. It's about self-perseverance and taking care of yourself and watching out for you, yourself, me, I, all those kinds of things. And now all the focus is back on loving God, loving others. So again, looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and in your discussion time, what are all the different ways that our enemy wants to twist what love really is and then start asking each other, how can we right the wrong and hit true north again and start moving towards loving others in the way that God has first loved us. I'm so thankful for every single one of you. I hope you have a wonderful discussion, and I will see you next weekend. God bless.